Avatar: Fire and Ash was directed by James Cameron and it stars everyone. And this movie takes place 3 weeks after the events of Avatar: The Way of Water. So in this movie, we have Jake and this family who are living their normal lives with the Ocean Clan, and until they're being encountered by a new tribe of Navis called the Ash Clan, who's being led by Varong. And now when Varong and her Ash Clan are wreaking havoc, Jake, Neytiri, and their family have to work together to solve this issue, and now we got our movie. Now, when I saw the trailer for this movie, I was super hyped for this movie. I was like, the trailers, in my opinion, were awesome. Yeah, we're awesome and absolutely fantastic. And when I saw the review embargoes for this movie, I was like, the review embargoes for this movie, that there was some mixed reactions for this movie. Some people liked it, some people didn't, and this movie wasn't nearly as good as the last 2 movies. And when I heard some mixed reactions about this movie, I was like, wait, what? Hold on, this can't be possible. All right, let me go see the movie for myself and figure out what the hell is going on. Now, after I saw the whole movie for myself, I was like, okay, I actually had a blast with this movie. But there are some things about this movie that could have used some improvements. There were some things I like and some things I didn't like about this movie. But overall, I thought this movie was pretty awesome. And Avatar: Fire and Ash is a mix of being one of the best and worst movies in the Avatar universe. So, like I said, this movie has been getting some mixed reactions. So I was like, okay, well, let me go see the movie for myself. But guess what? I enjoyed this movie a lot. So that is pretty much all. So without further ado, let's talk about the actors and the characters themselves. Starting off with is Sam Worthington as Jake Sully. Now, Jake in this movie, him and his family are living their normal lives with the Ocean Clan until they're being encountered by Varong and the Ash Clan, and now they have to try to find a way to solve this problem. So, and what I really like about Jake Sully in this movie, he does have some interesting badass moments in this film, and he does have some really cool badass moments in this movie, and he does have some excellent chemistry with his family. He does have some excellent conversations, and he does have some serious conversations. He does have some serious conversations, and there were some moments. Where I'm just like, honestly, there were some points in the movie where they could have done him a little bit justice in this movie, like they did with the last 2 movies. But in this movie, he does feel like a really cool character in this movie. And this dialogue in this movie, the way he has some serious conversations, felt more realistic, and that is pretty much all. And Sam Worthington gives like one of the best performances as Jake Sully, like he did in the last 2 movies, including in this one. And Sam Worthington is really good in this movie as Jake Sully, and that's all I can say for Jake Sully. Next up is Zoe Saldana as Neytiri. Now, Neytiri in this movie is such a badass character in this movie. She does have excellent chemistry with Jake and her family, and also she does have some really cool moments in this film. And yeah, she does have some really cool moments in this movie. And the way she has some serious sentences, her dialogue in this movie felt more serious, and it felt more serious this time around. And I thought she was a really cool character in this movie, and that's pretty much all I can say. And that's pretty much it. And Zoe Saldana gives like one of the best performances as Neytiri, like she did in the last 2 movies. And Zoe Saldana is really good in this movie as Neytiri, and that's all I can say for Neytiri. Next up is Stephen Lang as Colonel Miles Courage. Now, Courage in this movie, one of the things that made me scratch my head a little bit is that please don't make him the main villain in this movie like y'all did last time. Because he was the main villain in the first 2 movies. Because in the first movie, he was the main villain. In the second movie, he was the main villain once again, but only trying to get revenge. But in this movie, I was a little bit worried about him being the main villain once again. So I was like, please don't make him the main villain. Y'all gonna have to find someone else to be the main villain, if I'm being honest. And I think technically he kind of does feel like a side villain, but as I watched the whole movie for myself, I was like, what are y'all doing with this character? I don't know what y'all did with this character. Just y'all keep making him the main villain all over and over again. And I think there was some points in the movie where he does feel like a side villain, and I was like, okay, he does feel like a side villain, which is good. And so yeah, and that's and he does have some interesting badass moments in this movie as well. And that is pretty much it. And Stephen Lang is fantastic in this movie. He gives like one of the best performances in this film as well. And Stephen Lang is really good in this movie as Colonel Miles Courage, and that's all I can say for Courage. Next up is Sigourney Weaver as Curie. Now, Curie in this movie, I think she only had like one or two badass moments in this movie, and she does feel like an awesome character in here, and you do sympathize with her a lot more as you did with Avatar: The Way of Water. You do sympathize with the character a lot. In this movie, you do sympathize with more of her character as well. And she does have some excellent moments in this movie. She has excellent chemistry. She does have some excellent chemistry with Spider, who's sort of like a brother figure, who's sort of like a brother figure, like a brother figure to her. And she does have excellent chemistry with the rest of her family as well. And that is pretty much it. And Sigourney Weaver is excellent as Curie and gives like one of the best performances in this film. And Sigourney Weaver is really good in this movie as Curie. That's all I can say for Curie. And last but definitely not least is Anna Chaplin as the main villain, Varong. Now Varong in this movie, she does feel like a menacing, badass villain in this movie. But one of the biggest worries I have with this movie is that she was going to be not really a good villain as Courage was in the last two movies. But no, she feels like an actual villain in this movie. And she does have some grounded, dark moments in this film. And she does lead her Ash clan to go wreak havoc. And that is pretty much all I can say. And she does have some excellent chemistry. She does have excellent chemistry with Courage in this film as well. And with Varong here, in my opinion, is like one of the most badass, excellent villains I ever seen in the Avatar universe. And that is pretty much all I can say for this character. And Anna Chaplin gives like one of the best villainous performances as Varong in this movie. And Anna Chaplin as Varong is really good in this movie. Is really good in this movie, and that's all I can say for Varong. And I think that's it for the actors and the characters themselves. Now, the action sequences in this movie, I love the action sequences in this movie. The final battle, honestly, in my opinion, is way better in this movie than it was in the last movie. Because, honestly, in the last movie, the final battle felt rushed back and forth over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, okay, y'all gotta slow down. Y'all gotta make the editing and the pacing just slow down a little bit. But in this movie, they do it way better in this movie. The final battle in this movie is honestly better in this movie. But I do love the final battle in the last movie, including in the first movie. But in the second movie, on the other hand, the final battle was cool and all, but there were some points where I'm just like, y'all could at least just slow down and took y'all time with the pacing and the editing of the final battle in the last movie. But in this movie, they do the final battle a lot more justice in this movie. And the action sequences, the rest of the action sequences were awesome. And the visual effects and the cinematography, the visual effects in this movie, like the visual effects are not just on the creatures, but also to the Na'vi characters feel more realistic. I do love the way that the visual effects feel more realistic and feel more realistic and not cartoon animated like. And I think the visual effects artists, they do not play when it comes to real visual effects in the Avatar universe. And they do a really good job with the visual effects with everything in this movie. Now the cinematography shots in this movie was outstanding. I love the way they were handling the I love the way they were handling the visual effects in this movie. I love the way they handled the cinematography in this movie. You can pretty much tell exactly what's going on in this movie, and and yeah, that is pretty much all I can say for the cinematography. The cinematography was outstanding. Excuse me. So my biggest issue with the movie, there were some times where the plot is pretty much hard to follow. Sometimes where I'm just like, what's this movie even about? And there's some times where you do know what the movie's about, and there's some times where you don't know what the movie's about. But I can pretty much tell sometimes what the movie is actually about. The plot for this movie is okay, but sometimes the plot for this movie and I think the plot for this movie, like I said, it's just pretty much okay, and that's pretty much all I can say. And for the soundtrack in this movie was outstanding. The way they handled the music score, there was some music score that's very calm, and some music scores that's even more dramatic when it needs to be. Where I'm like, man, the music score is fantastic, and I love the way that the music score was handled pretty much well in this movie, and most of the dialogue that, like, the way that everybody gives like one of the best performances in this movie, the dialogue in this movie feels more like the way people have like these like serious conversations felt more real and felt more serious. And I was like, man, the dialogue in this movie was outstanding. And I love the way that the dialogue of most of the characters, where they have like serious conversations or have some serious conversations or have some really interesting moments in this movie, felt more realistic. And for the writing of this movie, there's some times where it's not just the writing of the story, but the writing of the characters, where I'm like, okay, the writing of the characters, like, not all of the characters, at least some of them could have used a bit more work, but most of the writing in this movie was outstanding, including with all of the characters. And the storytelling is pretty much easy to follow. You can pretty much tell exactly what is going on with the storytelling, and I think there was several points where I'm just like, can we just move on to the next? Can we move on to Can we just move on to the next thing now? So, and most likely the storytelling is pretty good overall, and most likely for this movie to not be as good. But my biggest issue with the movie, with the movie not being as good as the last movie, this movie was 3 hours and 15 minutes long. And I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. This movie was like a 3-hour long movie with us spending more time, like having this movie like being a 3-hour long movie. Like, for example, Avatar, if you watch Avatar, the first movie, that movie was 2 hours long. With Avatar, The Way of Water, that movie was probably like 3 hours and something minutes, I can't remember. But with Avatar, Fire and Ash, it feels more like a 3 hour and 17-minute or 15-minute long movie. Well, I'm like, okay, I can understand, but there were some problems, and also some problems I have with this movie. Like, there were some times where the movie doesn't feel rushed through. But the action sequence, no, sorry, not the action sequence, but the action sequences were cool. Like with the editing and pacing, with the action sequences, yeah, with the editing and pacing, with the action sequences, and some of the moments in this movie does take its time. But there were some times where the editing and pacing just feels rushed. Like, I feel like they were just rushing this movie. I feel like they were just rushing the hell out of this movie to get to the main point, where I'm like, okay, I get it, but the editing and pacing could have used a bit more work, honestly. But overall, I think the pacing and the editing was okay, but there was most of the times where the editing and pacing with all of the action sequences were outstanding. There were some times where they just rush and rush and rush and rush and rush. I'm like, okay, you gotta slow down. But overall, I think the editing and pacing for this movie was pretty good. But like I said, it shouldn't even rush through. And I was expecting this movie to be extremely dark, extremely grounded, because due to the fact that we have a dark villain that we have a dark female villain, and with us having like the first Avatar movie to have with us having like the first female Avatar villain in the Avatar universe, I was expecting this movie to be extremely grounded and dark and deceptive, but no, it's just the same exact color tone from the last two movies, which is honestly which is honestly a pretty good thing. But I was expecting this movie to be extremely grounded or dark like, but no, it's the same tone, which honestly is a good thing, and I'm fine with that. So I think that's pretty much all I can say. But for the rest of the movie, I thought this movie was outstanding. But for the rest of this movie, the movie was good. But there's some things, like I said, could have used a bit more work. But overall, I thought this movie was pretty good overall. So I think that's pretty much it for my last movie review. This is my last movie review of 2025 because we're heading to the new year. So it looks like this has been an amazing journey. This has been an amazing journey for 2025 for some of the movie reviews that I currently did throughout this year. So I think that's pretty much all I can say. It has been an excellent journey for 2025. So that is pretty much all. And one thing that this movie needs to get is an Oscar. This movie has to get an Oscar. Please give Avatar: Fire and Ash an Oscar next year. So I think that's pretty much all I can say. So I guess that's pretty much all I can say for this movie review for Avatar: Fire and Ash. If you have seen this movie, what are your initial thoughts on this movie? Do you like it or you don't like it? Or what are some things you like or don't like? Let me know in the comments. But for me, I had a hell of a blast with this movie. But with the rest, like I said, there were some things in this movie that could have used some improvement, but I do respect them for trying to do the best they can with this movie. And that is pretty much all I can say for my last movie review of 2025. So I think that's it, and there's nothing much else to say, so be sure to like, subscribe, press the notification button, follow me on Instagram, and comment down below, and I'll see you on my next video, and thank you for watching.